Hello.
Hello, Alice.
I'm absolutely delighted today to introduce you to an amazing woman, Christine Bennett. Christine is actually someone I've known for a few years. I was thinking about it the other day, and I think it was about 2006 or 2007 that we came across each other.
Yep.
At being involved with the Cancer Screening Control Group, Consumer Reference Group at the time, which was part of the Department of Health and Human Services. Christine is, I've written down here, a marvellous woman who is, I've written a fundraiser, a philanthropist, really, raising money and for the benefit of others, very community-minded individual who describes herself as having lived 5 lives in her time. And I welcome Christine. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Alison.
When I prepare for these interviews, I go on to Google and I do a little bit of Google stalking to try and unearth some little tidbits about the people I'm interviewing. With Christine, I unearthed so much wonderful things. So I'll just have a little look at my notes here. Christine has been involved as a volunteer with Centre Care with the refugee program, and in fact spent some time helping them to improve that. Obviously, we met as volunteers, sitting on the Consumer Reference Group for cancer screening. Look Good, Feel Good. You were the Tasmanian Volunteer of the Year back in 2011 for the work that you did with that. You're a life member of Hockey Tasmania. You're also with the Northwest Hobart Graduates Hockey Club. You're also Tasmanian University Hockey Club, life member with them as well. So is that 3, not 2?
Well, it's 2 clubs and a state body. Yep.
Okay, yep. And you got an Order of the Australian Medal for your services to hockey and the community. You are on the board of Volunteering Tasmania, but you're about to step down after 6 years. You're married with 3 children, and perhaps the most exciting thing or the most important thing in your life at the moment is the work that you're doing with the Bethlehem Community Centre with raising as a charity and raising money for 2 orphanages. No.
2 orphanages in Kenya.
Oh, good. I said orphanages and then I was thinking.
Yep.
And so you help form that charity and you raise money, you run events, and which is absolutely amazing. Christine, tell us, just for the people listening and watching, tell them a little bit about your story and perhaps how you've ended up where you are now.
Well, probably I guess the main thing is that I grew up in a family in a rural town with a mum that wasn't allowed to work. My father wouldn't let her work. She was a school teacher, and at one count she was on the committee of 13 organisations in a rural town of 300 people. So I guess I grew up in a family of givers. We used to spend our Sundays going up to the sawmill and getting the towel endings, putting them on a truck and delivering them to people that needed wood. And that was in a time where I lived in second-hand clothes. So
is this Tasmania?
This is in Lilydale, north of Launceston.
Wonderful.
And so I guess I grew up in a family where it was the done thing to just be involved in your community. My parents were really much in the forefront in building a pool, the swimming pool at Lilydale. And so we spent many, many hours on those sorts of things. I thought I could only ever eat funny biscuits because my mother was always cooking biscuits for a stall and we were only allowed to eat the ones on the edge of the tray because the others were to be sold at a fair or a market or something. So I guess I was probably very much in that vein. My grandfather too, my mother's father, had been a council clerk and a pastor in a church and very much community involved in Derby and in Scottsdale. So it was expected. And my dad's credo, I suppose, was if you can, you must, because there's them that can't.
Wonderful.
And I suppose it stuck with me quite a lot. And so I think that's probably where I come from. And that's how I first got into administration at hockey. We had the women's hockey was down at Sandown, and the kiosk wasn't making as much money as they thought it should. So they decided that they would have to do a little bit more monitoring of it. So they asked for people to volunteer to count the lollies at the end of the day and do a tally of how much money they should have taken and check it all out and check on the volunteers that have been working there for the day. So I put my hand up for that. So every Saturday was counting bus sticks. So I suppose that's where my involvement in hockey started, and I was then involved for 40 years in hockey administration from then on. I just really enjoyed being involved in community things. I suppose that's just how it is. And probably through, I was a teacher and I stopped teaching when I had my first child. And then I got involved in direct sales. And I think that was probably a fabulous thing to do because there's good personal development training in something like that. But also I think because it let me do some work at night time and be me and let the father stay home with the children.
Wonderful. Which
was good bonding time for them and also gave me a bit of an out. So I learnt lots in that time too, so it's really good.
Yeah, wonderful.
I got pregnant in 1979, and in those days, if you didn't go back 6 weeks after you had your baby, you had to resign. There was no extended leave for maternity leave or anything. But, I had good pay up until that point with sick leave and because you got your sick leave as your maternity leave as well, which was good. But I had no intention of going back when my baby was 6 weeks old. So I just offered to resign when I knew I was pregnant, and the head of the department in that day wouldn't let me. She was probably a bit of a champion of the cause, although those that knew her thought that she might have been a bit tougher than that. But she wouldn't let me resign until the baby was actually 6 weeks old. So that she said, you just don't know what might happen. But in those days, that was it. So there was no taking 2 years leave or any of those sorts of things. And I had no intention of going back while I had a little baby at home. So I resigned.
Can you remember why it was 6 weeks? Was there a rationale behind why you had to come back?
I think, well, you weren't allowed, you were supposed to take leave from 6 weeks before till 6 weeks after.
Right.
And I think that then you could use any sick leave, maternity leave that you had how you chose, but you had to make a decision about your career with the department in a very short space of time. There was probably the undertone of, I guess, there was definitely the undertone of if you're the prime carer, then, if anything goes wrong, you'll be the one that'll be missing school and you'll be a burden to our schools because you've got your mind elsewhere. So that certainly has changed. And, I had one principal that was fantastic, and he would have had me, working for him 2.5 days a week and still give me some time off if I needed it. Another principal basically patted my fat belly and said, oh, it's just like dropping a lamb in the paddock, you'll be fine. So there was quite a misogynistic sort of school of thought in those days. And I think it was, lack of thought and just didn't have enough champions for the cause. And so I think the head of the department, being a female at that time, probably was a bit of a leader in starting to get things to change, which was good.
So the other thing that's certainly a trend at the moment in 2016 is this real big focus on women and getting them back into the workforce, into leadership roles, helping be more productive for the economy, for themselves, for all those different reasons. So thinking before about your comments about that importance of being a mum and the importance of that family connection, there is certainly I don't want to say trend, but there's certainly an issue happening at the moment where I think women are struggling finding that balance between I have these opportunities afforded to me now where I can go and have and people want more women in leadership roles, but I've also got my family at home, and it's like,
don't make me choose.
Don't make me choose. That's right.
And I think, and that's really sad, because I think I often say I was in fog brain for 7 years because I felt I had a really good connection with my kids, so automatically they took up a lot of my brain power. And I was always thinking, even when they're at school, you're thinking, oh yeah, they're doing their sports today. Isn't it good that I don't have to go to work and I can watch them do their sports or whatever it might be? So they're always there. And I think that's we've got to accept that. And we've got to encourage people to be able to do that. And we've got to stop making women think that when they walk in the door of their job that they somehow forget that they have another life that exists. And so somehow we have to really help to nurture that. If I'd gone back teaching, my husband retired as a vice principal and we started teaching at the same time basically. So I possibly could have done too. I chose not to. I'm glad I chose not to. But I'd hate to think that because I stayed home with my family for 7 years that I would have missed the march on that. So we've got to actually look at that as well and say, you've been doing a really important job for 7 years. You would have probably been in this point here. This is where we're going to put you.
Yeah.
So that you aren't discriminated against, because it is discrimination. I have a bit of an issue because I don't think we value mums enough. Being a mother to me is the most important job that anybody can have, particularly from 0 to 4, where that's the formative years, and I think that we should be supporting all mothers the best that we possibly can so that those kids can get to be 4-year-olds with everything that they need to get them on, because we know that if 0 to 4 doesn't work, the rest doesn't work. And so I think that the government should be putting all their money in the bottom end of education and in the bottom end of health, and let the top end sort itself out somewhere along the way, but put the money back where it really counts, because in 30 years' time, we'll reap the rewards. And if every child was given a good start, then, gosh, we'd be a fabulous place. And I think that we as a society devalue some of these things, and it's our fault. And we need to say no.
Tell us a little bit about Bethlehem Community Centre.
Okay, so Bethlehem Community Centre, I first met through being involved with the direct sales company, because they actually supported it. And so I went to visit in 2008.
And this is in Kenya?
In Kenya. So it's 2 orphanages, and one of the orphanages has a primary school. And on my visit, the first time I went to Kenya, to Uganda, to Burundi, to the Congo, and that was 2 weeks. And then I had a week in India on the way home. And we looked at so many projects. There were 3 of us that did it. And we looked at so many projects that it was overwhelming. We visited a women's hospital in Congo that is very much like the Hamlin Fistula Hospital in Ethiopia. And it was like a gymnasium with cots, beds in it, bunks in it, and women with children. And there was one doctor for about 400 women.
Wow.
And there was a beautiful home that was there, which was called Dorcas Maison. And she was training these women to learn some craft, because most of them would be excommunicated from their communities because of having had fistula problems, or because they'd been raped, and then they were seen as unfit to go back to their community. So that was heartbreaking. So there were a lot of heartbreaking things that you saw. So to pick one was really difficult. So I chose a home in Moya, which was about 3.5 hours northeast of Kenya, of Nairobi. And it was a home, and it would take me 4 hours to tell you the story about it. It was a really sad story. It had been built by the British High Commission as an apology, and probably everybody should read a little bit about the history of Kenya, because it's in my lifetime. There's dreadful things that have happened in Kenya. So I don't know how they even look at us sometimes after what we've done to them. And so the home was really needed some support. So that's what we did. We came back and we formed a charity so that we could support this home. And because it was one of 2 that was run by the same people, we do the whole lot. And our main thing is to educate them. So primary education they get, classes of 70 to 100 in a class. High school they have to pay for. So we choose about 5 a year that have good results and help them through high school. And so at the moment we're supporting 17 kids in high school.
That's amazing.
And we have Thomas that's starting second year university in doing a Bachelor of Education. And that's really exciting, because he's doing 4 years of a Bachelor of Education. And all the other teachers I've seen have done 1 year of training. And it tells in the end result, which is, not their fault, because it's just not available. So, and we have Salome that's nearly finishing her nursing. She'll be a qualified nurse in September.
Fantastic.
Veronica finished last year with her nursing. So it is, and they go back to their community. Like Thomas sent me a message. He's my friend on Facebook. That's exciting, because North Hobart Rotary gave him a laptop to help with his studies, which was just amazing. And through the universities, he can get Wi-Fi. So he's my friend on Facebook. He's going to get a whole lot more friends after Saturday night, because as a fundraiser, I told everybody his name and said they had to find him and befriend him. But I know that it's encouraging for Thomas to talk to me on Facebook. And he told me that last weekend he went back to the orphanage in Moya and talked to the kids and took some of his uni mates with him and said to the kids, this is what you can do. This is where you can be. You know, just stick to it. Work hard. This is what the end goal is. And so, you know, that's fantastic. And I think that that's just wonderful to see that. And we've just started a young fellow doing a catering course to Elias.
Wonderful.
Probably been given lots of advice. I think, you know, as I said, my dad had said that if you can, you must. And so if I'm lucky enough to have 2 arms, 2 legs, then I ought to get on with it. In the direct sales company I was with, probably lots of personal development training, which has been great. And one of the things that stuck me with is that leadership can be good or bad. You know, we see lots of bad leaders in the community. We see our kids get involved in drugs or bad behaviour because they're following the wrong leader. So, you know, if you're going to do some leading, you've got to make sure it's good leadership. And if you think you're leading, you probably should look back over your shoulder occasionally to make sure somebody's following you, because if they aren't, you're just taking a walk in the park, so there's not much point.
So what advice would you give to people about what they might choose to do with their life?
I think that having some integrity in what you do, it doesn't really matter as long as you can go to bed at night and lie straight. I think that's the really important thing. And Tim Lane, who's an ABC sporting commentator, is a good friend of ours, and he used to often say, I can't believe I have a job that I enjoy so much and they pay me to do it. And I think, you know, that's probably what you want to do, is make sure that where you spend your time, that you're enjoying it. You don't want the gritted teeth thing. You don't want to have to get up in the morning and go, oh gosh, no, I have to go there again today. I think you just need to make sure, and, you know, let's face it, if we didn't have ditch diggers and whatever, cleaners, the world would fall apart. But if you find the joy and you enjoy going to work and making sure that somebody has a clean environment to work in, and that really gives you a buzz, then that's what you've got to do. Yeah. I think you just got to find what makes you feel right within yourself and not by anybody else's standards.
You talk about having lived 5 lives. So when you think about what sort of legacy that you hope to leave behind you, or how you like to be remembered, what comes to mind for you?
Look, none of us are immortal. My grandfather was a fabulous fellow, and he had a big impact on us as kids. And to be thought of fondly, like where you think of him, and to repeat things that he says. My mum was lovely. She was a wonderful mother, and she was a wonderful person within the community, and she was very generous and very kind and very honest. And we think fondly of her. And that's, I guess, you know, that's all I want people. I don't want people to say, let's put a monument up because Chris Bennett did this or that. No, what a waste of money. I don't even want to be buried. I don't want to take up any ground space. So just to be thought of fondly, and to be responsible for perhaps some of the good things that people do and go, I do that because my mum did it or because my granddad did it and it made me feel good because I did it. That's really, you know, that's all I want, I guess. I am really happy, and I think that I read a thing about somebody's tombstone, and it had, you know, born in 1925, died in 2008 with a dash in between. And the numbers don't matter, it's the dash, and it's what is your dash.
Yeah.
And I guess my dash is to just make sure that I don't waste opportunities, but I don't be so possessed that I have to gobble everything up. And that probably, yeah, I do make an impact where I can. And I make sure that I connect with those around me and that we enjoy each other's company, and which is good. Honesty and integrity. I think it's really important, as I said earlier, that you lie straight in bed at night. I can't see how you can possibly be happy if you're one-upping somebody and getting the best of somebody or taking something that's not really yours. So I think that's really important. I think everybody should read The Magic Pudding. It's a never-ending pie. It's not just a pie that we all have to gobble up as much as we can of the pie before somebody else eats it. It's a bottomless pie, and we help to make it and expand it. So, yeah, I think that's probably it.
Beautiful. This is where I turn the phone around so you can see the view from Christine's window.
I can't read it. Timing the kicks off.
I just turned it around so people could see the view. And the puppy dog.
And the puppy dog that says, "Why am I outside?" Because you barked.
Because you barked.